Tonight, our special transmission as Palestinian Prime Minister resigns over increased violence in the West Bank. Assalamu alaikum and good evening. This is Muslim News Canada on Muslim Network TV. I'm Aisha Ashraf. Today is the 140th day since Israel started its indiscriminate war against Palestinians. Despite global calls for a ceasefire, Israel continues to bomb Khan Yunis and Rafah. In the past 24 hours, Israeli strikes have killed 90 Palestinians. 164 have been injured. 4 Palestinians have been killed near Khan Yunis, including 2 fishermen. 2 more Palestinians have been killed by a drone strike in Deir al-Bala. Israeli forces claim to have killed Palestinian fighters in various locations using snipers, tanks, and airstrikes. The representative of the Organization of Islamic Cooperation is condemning the Israeli aggression at the International Court of Justice. In the separate case brought to the World Court by South Africa, Israel is scheduled to report on its progress in preventing genocide in Gaza. On the international front, the Hezbollah militant group has shot down an Israeli drone in Lebanon. At least 29,782 Palestinians have been killed by Israeli attacks. Another 8,000 are presumed dead under the rubble. 70,043 have been wounded. The revised death toll in Israel from Hamas's attacks stands at 1,139. Palestinian Prime Minister Mohammad Shtayyeh has announced today the resignation of his government. His government oversees parts of the occupied West Bank. The decision comes amidst a surge in violence in the occupied territory and the ongoing conflict in Gaza. Shtayyeh has submitted his resignation to Palestinian Authority President Mahmoud Abbas. In the resignation, Shtayyeh says his decision comes in the light of the escalation in the West Bank and Jerusalem and the genocide and starvation in Gaza. Shtayyeh says there is a need for new governmental and political arrangements to address the current challenges in the West Bank and Gaza. He says measures should be taken to promote Palestinian unity. Recently, the United States has been mounting pressure on Abbas to reform the Palestinian Authority and establish a government for a Palestinian state post-war. On the other hand, Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu has consistently opposed calls for the Palestinian Authority to govern Gaza and establish a Palestinian state unilaterally. Last week, Israeli lawmakers supported Netanyahu's stance against any unilateral recognition of a Palestinian state. In response, Palestinian officials condemned the vote and denounced the expanding of Israeli settlements. Despite ongoing international efforts, progress towards a two-state solution remains elusive. The International Court of Justice is currently examining the legal implications of Israel's occupation of the West Bank. Despite this, Israel plans to expand settlements. U.S. Secretary of State Antony Blinken has expressed disappointment over Israel's announcement of new settlements. He has reaffirmed U.S. opposition to settlement expansion, which is viewed as a major point of contention. An active duty member of the U.S. Air Force has died after setting himself on fire yesterday outside the Israeli embassy in Washington, D.C. Before setting himself on fire, 25-year-old Aaron Bushnell said he will no longer be complicit in genocide. Bushnell admitted that he was engaging in an extreme act of protest. However, he compared his act to what Palestinian people have been experiencing at the hands of colonizers. Viral footage shows a protest and the moment when Bushnell sets himself on fire. He can be heard shouting "Free Palestine" as he burns in flames. Muslim News Canada has decided not to broadcast the video. The fire was extinguished by Secret Service personnel. Bushnell was taken to a nearby hospital due to critical, life-threatening injuries. Last year in December, a person set themselves on fire outside the Israeli consulate in Atlanta, Georgia, in protest against Israel's war on Palestine. U.S. President Joe Biden and French President Emmanuel Macron have urgently called for humanitarian aid to be delivered to Gaza. They are also calling to implement measures to prevent regional escalation of the conflict. The two leaders discussed the dire conditions of Gaza over a phone call. They also discussed the significant needs of the population and how releasing detainees can help ease tensions. Macron voiced opposition to Israeli attacks on Rafah and called for a ceasefire. The leaders also addressed the Ukraine-Russia war, pledging increased support for Ukraine. Scotland's First Minister Humza Yousaf is pressing the UK government to cease arms sales to Israel. He says arms sales to Israel may violate international humanitarian law. In an interview with the UK-based news website Middle East Eye, Yusuf says there is an immediate need to suspend export licenses. Reports show the UK has licensed $598 million worth of military exports to Israel since 2015. The reports reveal UK components aiding in Gaza bombings. Yusuf's call aligns with the warnings from the United Nations that arms transfers to Israel likely breach international law. With mounting Palestinian casualties, Israeli allies are facing pressure to halt arms sales to Israel. Recently, Spain and Belgium have imposed an arms embargo. The Scottish National Party, alongside Labour, advocates for an immediate ceasefire amid increasing public support for ending the conflict. London Mayor Sadiq Khan has criticized Prime Minister Rishi Sunak's silence over Islamophobic comments by a Tory MP. He has accused Sunak of complicity in racism. Tory MP Lee Anderson had previously claimed that Islamists control Khan. The comment prompted backlash from Labour and a few Tories. Business Minister Nusrani denounced Anderson's comments as foolish and dangerous. On the other hand, some Tories defended Anderson's right to speak. Khan says the remark fosters anti-Muslim hatred. Khan demands action from the cabinet, while Labour is calling for Anderson's removal. Anderson previously served as deputy chair of the Conservative Party before resigning from his post to vote against Sunak's Rwanda bill. Saudi Arabia has announced a major gas discovery at the state oil company field. Energy Minister Prince Abdulaziz bin Salman said an additional 15 trillion standard cubic feet of natural gas and 2 billion barrels of condensate were found in the onshore field Jaufurah. With the new discovery, reserves at Jaufurah have reached 220 trillion cubic feet of gas and 75 billion barrels of condensates. Jaufurah unconventional field lies southeast of the Ghawar oil field in the kingdom's eastern province. Unconventional resources refer to those that require advanced extraction methods. The field covers an area of 7,000 square kilometers. The production of natural gas at Jaufurah is expected to increase to 2 billion standard cubic feet per day of unconventional gas by 2030. Currently, it is producing 200 million standard cubic feet per day. Friday prayers in Londonderry, a city in UK's Northern Ireland, are witnessing a surge in attendance. The region has a Christian majority. However, the Muslim community is expanding and reflects the evolving demographic of the region. The community comprises about 1,000 individuals from Pakistan, Syria, and Egypt. There are doctors, students, refugees, and asylum seekers. One of them, Sadou Diallo from Guinea, even plays professional football for Derry City. They gather in an industrial estate to perform their prayers. Thank you for watching. Our news is produced by Muslim Network TV, which is a not-for-profit organization. We need your support for donations. Please scan the QR code on our broadcast or visit muslimnetwork.tv to donate now, so we can continue to amplify the voices of Muslims in Canada and abroad.